Hey, welcome back to another edition of the IWCA show. I am Gabe Gutierrez, your host, and we have back with us Sheila Smeltzer. How are you doing again?
Hey Gabe, I'm great today. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm so glad and happy to have you back.
Thank you.
We wanted to bring you back because you are on the IWCA Glass Education Committee, and I know that's a big passion of yours.
Mhm.
And I think for someone like myself who came up where we really didn't have that much, glass is glass to us. I was commercial at first. We added residential. We clean it, we leave. We don't think much of it. And so when I would see the early classes, I would like, I don't really need that. But you are someone who is passionate about glass education. That's why I really wanted to pick your brain, find out a little bit more about what the Glass Education Committee is doing for IWC members, and just kind of see what we're missing and what we need to know in order to help our business be safer. So, but first, in
Awesome.
our first interview, you had mentioned a story, and you had just kind of gone started on your own business on your own with your ex-husband. You
Mhm.
mentioned there was a lawsuit against your company
Yeah.
because of scratches. And
Yep.
could you go in a little more detail about that and just kind of help us to understand how that started your desire to really be educated about glass surfaces?
That's awesome. It's kind of funny and it's amazing how time flies. I was looking at, how you save articles and things like that, but Professional Window Cleaner magazine actually featured this in an article like in 2011 or something
Mm,
like that. So, the story's kind of old. A lot of people know my story in regards to this, but at the end of the day, we were doing a residential but multi-unit post-construction window cleaning. Um, I got called in from the project manager. My ex-husband was MIA. Okay.
mm,
And he said, Sheila, what's going on? We got scratch glass everywhere. Proceeds to walk me around. I kept my mouth shut, walked away, and I just thought I was going to die. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. So, not too much long later, of course, I get a judgment for $65,000 and went online, searched for the IWC, or I didn't search for the IWCA. I was wanting to know what caused the scratches in the glass. And so I started to do some research online. I swear this is when internet was like first a thing.
you had to do it.
But anyway, I came across the IWCA. They connected me with their, at that time, Glass Education Committee, which then as such a new person, they brought me right in. I got involved in their committee from the get-go.
Wow.
So I've been on this committee for ages, and I now chair it. But it's just always been a passion of mine. So I've seen a lot happen in regards to what window cleaners know about glass over the years. I've been through it all firsthand, and it doesn't need to be that complicated. I mean, that's like really the big picture is, yes, there's a lot of science behind glass, but there's some very basic processes and approaches that we as window cleaners can apply to work safely on glass without producing damage. It doesn't need to be ultra complicated. So anyway, where was I going with that story?
But you're kind of leading us to where I wanted to go, which
Good.
was one of the things you had said was we need to understand, we have to know what the surface is that we're working on, because
Yeah.
like myself, it's very easy to think all glass is glass. Yeah, you got some hydrophobic and hydrophilic and all that stuff, but ultimately you put the squeegee on the glass, you clean it, and you move on. Why is it so important to know what the surface is that you are working on?
Well, first of all, so the glass industry is this multi-billion-dollar industry, you know, international, right? So they are coming out with new products every day, all the time. And who's cleaning and maintaining them? We are.
Yep.
So it's really important to know, there's self-cleaning glass. So a lot of what is coming out are different types of coatings, right? Different types of appearances, aesthetic appearances, things like that. But, at the end of the day, it's kind of simple. Like you have regular annealed glass, and you have heat strengthened glass, and you have fully tempered glass, and you have laminated glass, but but you also, but you also need to approach it in either a routine method or a non-routine method. So obviously routine is wash and squeegee, maybe use a scrub pad to, knock some artillery fungus off or something. But in a non-routine situation, you're doing some type of restoration, whether it's post-construction window cleaning, whether it's hard water stain removal, building runoff, concrete runoff, whatever it is that you're trying to do, you better know what the hell you're doing. Sorry for the language, but you better know what you're doing. And that's where we come in. And so we wrote, as chair of the Glass Education Committee, and my committee, and I will shout out some names, but the biggest project that we've completed over the last year and a half, I probably took 2 years, but I've got it right here. But this is the architectural glass guide for professional window cleaners. I want to tell a quick story. This kind of sums it up, what this is for window cleaners. IWCA just had a booth at the huge convention, and I had 2 window cleaning technicians that worked for another company that was at the trade show. These 2 young window cleaners from Montana, and they came up to the booth and we started talking glass, and I started to open this book and they started asking me questions. There were so many things they didn't know. They didn't know, what did we talk about? They didn't know about failed IG units. They didn't know they'd seen it on every day, all day,
right?
But they didn't know what it was called. They didn't know how to describe it to their customer. So they were like, oh, wow, it's called a failed insulated glass unit. Wait, I gotta remember that. So we start talking about suction cup marks. We start talking about hard water stains. We start talking about just all of these different things, which, by the way, everything that they brought up, I was able to open the glass guide and take them to the information in the glass guide, and their mind was blown. And I was like, the happiest 15 minutes of my whole huge convention was that people saw the importance of having something like this. So I really want everybody to know, especially if you are a member of the IWCA, if you go to the website, IWCA.org, and you go to the top and click on glass education, this is the only thing that pops up. This has everything. And so this booklet right here was printed from the published, I don't know what they call it, on the website. This was printed just straight from the website. But talk about a training tool for your window cleaning, for your window cleaners, for your employees and whatnot. It's got everything. It's got everything from scratch removal to all the different things that you see on glass, so you can identify, to how glass is made. And this is like the Holy Grail. So this is a living document. We're going to continue to improve it. So whenever you go on, if you see, like, if you were to go print it a second time, you may find some variances. It's just because we're constantly updating it.
Sure. So how many years of research would you say went into writing that document?
So this was started, the previous Paul West, who's a past president of IWCA, and Jeff Class were the previous chair and co-chair of the Glass Education Committee. Do you know them?
I know Paul. I don't know the other gentleman.
Jeff Class. Okay.
Yeah.
Paul has so much to do with the research that we know in our Glass Education Committee and really in the window cleaning industry. He's really spearheaded a lot of that, and he's so smart. I can't even begin to know what he knows about glass. And so my whole thing was, we had Paul as our chair, who understood all the science behind the glass. And then you have the people like me on the committee who are saying, that's great. How do we teach this to window cleaners so they get it? Like, we need to put this in layman's terms so that we get it. And this is the evolution of this. So, but he started it, that's where it started. And then I just kind of picked up the torch and carried it on. So
yeah,
got it done.
The reason why I wanted to know is because, you think about if someone were to write a book, a studious book on any subject, and they put years of research into, how expensive would that book be to buy, right? And here it is on the website for any member to get and to use. It's just such a beautiful resource.
We talked about selling it, Gabe. I'm so glad we all voted and we agreed. No, this needs to be a member benefit. We are all about education. And this is everything about glass education that a window cleaner needs to know. So, yeah, it's a member benefit. You can go online and just log in and it's yours.
That's so cool. That is so cool. So, and so with this, you'll be able to kind of learn and identify different types of glass, which is important because you get to a house, the customer is not going to tell you, oh, I have, this many tempered glass panes. I have, they're not going to know. So you have to be able to identify that. And I know for me, I couldn't tell if I showed up. So this is going to be able to help to educate you and know what you're dealing with, and then know if you need to take different actions that you would, like you say, go outside of your routine in order to ensure that your business is protected as you work on that piece of glass.
Yeah, we started talking about coatings. I want to just give up one example. We started talking about coatings. Coatings are a big issue on glass. Like if you're going to do damage to glass, it would most likely be from use of a razor blade on glass, or it would be because there is some type of deposit or debris on the glass that's harder than the glass, that when moved across the glass is going to scratch it. Okay. That could be stucco, concrete. It could be tile shards from cutting tile. It could be a number of things. Or it's going to be coating. So coatings exposed to you as the window cleaner that you do not know are there. And you put your strip washer on it. It feels different, but you can't really see anything different. Everybody's experienced that. So, coatings, exposed coatings, they can scratch very easily. They can damage very easily. You could put a wrong product on them and they could change appearance and discolor or whatever. But, for example, in here is example of what we call the pencil test. So the pencil test is basically, if you're working on a coating, if you put your finger or a pencil up on the glass and they touch. Okay. Now, if you put your finger or pencil on the surface of the glass and there's a little tiny gap in between, that coating is on the thermal unit inside the thermal unit of the glass. But little tips, like that's what's in here. It's cool stuff, and it's very important. I mean, those are very small things, little tidbits of knowledge that can save your butt, honestly.
Yes.
And headache. A lot of it's just headache dealing with a customer that you did something to a window. I mean, trust me, we deal with it and we train on it, but it just happens. So there's so much to know. And this is all very useful information. This is not a scientific document. I also want to shout out, because everybody knows Cody Thomas with Glass Renew.
Yes.
He was instrumental in completing the architectural glass guide. And I don't know who's listening right now that has sat in on any of his glass education sessions for the IWCA conventions. He's so freaking smart. But he knows you can understand him, and he's so passionate, but you can understand him, you get what he's talking about. And so, convention wise, he's on my committee. He helped produce this document and complete it. A lot of thanks to him, but, also he'll be doing some more sessions actually on, glass surfaces on solar panels. We're going to have a lot of solar
that is
panel
so
training.
important right now. Yes.
Yeah. Solar panel training. Man, I don't know if I can talk about it or not, but IWCA convention has some really cool stuff coming up with solar panel cleaning training.
It seems like every other week there's some big thing where people are talking about the coatings on solar panels, and I'm personally kind of afraid to do them now because I don't know enough, so that's going to be really helpful.
Yeah. So you've got Cody Thomas, who is basically researching, so I don't know enough yet. I shouldn't speak about it, but I can tell you that we've got people that are researching the glass surfaces on solar panels, and we will have that information at convention, along with the safety of accessing solar panels, and also what you need to know about the maintenance.
Nice.
So yeah, it's going to be pretty cool.
But that's also highlights why it's so important to be a member, because you get the cutting edge information as it's happening. You
Yeah.
don't have to wait 6 months down the road when you've already got yourself in trouble because there was information out there that you didn't get,
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
really awesome.
Yeah. If you're engaging in solar panels at all, you need to be in Vegas in January
Yep.
16th to the 20th at the Golden Nugget downtown.
Awesome. Now, one other thing, I wanted to talk on briefly, because it is so important. And if there's anything that window cleaners do know, is that tempered glass there's something with it, but we don't always know what it is. We just know that you hear the word tempered glass and alarms kind of go off. Could you fill us in a little bit about why that's so important to know if a window is tempered, and how to adjust the way you treat it, and what dangers are there?
Yes, thank you. I'm actually glad that you asked this question. This is a touchy subject in our industry, as everybody knows. But I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm just going to talk straight. Okay. So, what we know about, and this is scientific research, what we know about tempered glass basically is that it's different. It's different than regular annealed glass. The surface of the glass is different. There's peaks and valleys and divots on a microscopic level. Okay. So it doesn't respond to our tools in the same way that a regular piece of annealed glass does. That's much more flat under a microscope. Okay. So now also there's this. So tempered glass is heat strengthened. So it becomes safety glass, so that if people were to walk into it and were to break in a bunch of little million tiny pieces, so it doesn't gash your arm and cut your arm open, right?
And that's why it's usually like on doors, right? Because you don't want someone walking into it or running into it, and then, like you said, it shatters and now they're just full of cuts. So this is meant to protect people from that.
Correct. Yeah. So that's why they call it safety glass. And by building code, tempered glass is always going to be windows that are near the floor, and all of your doors, any windows near drain holes, so sinks, showers, toilets. So so these types of areas where you need to be safe, where you can slip and fall into the glass, or just fall over and fall into the glass. So the other thing we know about tempered glass is because it's heat strengthened, so it's stronger glass, but it has a softer surface. It's crazy. But there's an entire scientific document that this Professor Kim had done. I believe it's out of Penn State. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's where that science came from, or that research. But basically, this is what we know. So for a window cleaner, the overall story is tempered glass is different. And if you really want to protect your butt, just don't put a blade on it.
And
Blades,
people are like, no, I have to use a scraper.
blades are acceptable tools for window cleaners. There's a professional tool, stainless steel, carbon steel blades, made by Triumph and made by these other, manufacturers, are acceptable tools for us. But if you're going to put it on tempered glass, you need to be extremely careful, and you need to be isolated and limited in how you use it. You need to make sure your glass is really wet. And I recommend that the glass is cold, okay? Because when the glass is hot, it starts to open up, and then you're exposing more of those peaks and valleys. So this is the way that I understand the science, and this is how I teach my people. But it's very important to know at the end of the day that it's different, okay? What else was I going to say about it except for that? There's most of the time when we need to use a blade, it's for, maybe taking artillery fungus off, or stickers are notorious. But as in regards to approaching the glass and saying, wait a minute, I can't use a blade. There's so many good scrub pads that are out there now. I know Jay Racenstein is carrying this honeycomb pad, and that pad is really rigid. It won't scratch anything. It's like plastic. It's crazy, but it'll knock artillery fungus right off the glass.
I just seen them have the coconut fiber pads, and I've heard some good. I haven't used it myself, but I've heard some really good things about those as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I haven't tested those on any type of a coating or anything like that, but if we're working on a coating, we don't want to scrub anything anyway. We just want to
Mhm.
use soap and water and a soft applicator. But anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought or where I was
Sorry.
going with tempered glass, except for that you just at the end. So this is actually the article that we're trying to produce for American Window Cleaner magazine. So please read the American Window Cleaner magazine and some of the up and coming issues, because we're going to explain this further on how tempered glass, how our knowledge of tempered glass has changed over the years, what we know about it now. And I will give window cleaners a recommendation that you should not. Did the term fabricating debris bring us, that gave us knowledge that tempered glass was different. And that was a theory. And that what we know now in science is that that's can be an issue for tempered glass scratching, but that is not the reason why tempered glass scratch. That is not why tempered glass scratches. Okay.
Yes.
So can that happen? Sure. There can be manufacturing debris on the glass that you can drag across the glass. That can happen. But that's not why all this tempered glass is scratching. It's because tempered glass itself is different. And we got to treat it different as window cleaners.
Love it.
I got to shut up.
No, this is
just
good stuff. This is the best part of the interview, because this is practical information. We have to know this as window cleaners.
Right.
There's no window cleaner who is not going to come in contact with tempered glass. So we look forward to that article. We'll see if we can get that put on the, when it comes out, we'll put it on the show so that people know and are directed to it for sure. So maybe we can close out the interview just by you giving you an opportunity to share a little bit. What are some of the things that the Glass Educational Committee are doing to outreach to people, to teach them, to help them know? Because, I mean, honestly, again, not being a non-scientific person, you do hear, what is the glass made of, and you just start, oh my, I'm already zoning out, not haven't even heard anything, because you hear, you imagine there's going to be this big discussion about chemicals and compositions and things. So what are you doing to help a lay person benefit from glass education for their business?
One example of something we're doing right now is actually for the power washing industry, which of course a lot of window cleaners do power washing and vice versa. But we're creating basically like a quick document. It'll be front and back laminated, where it will go directly on a pressure washing truck or window cleaning truck, whichever. And it's going to basically lay out, here are the chemicals that are most typically used in power washing operations. And here's the method for removing, kind of like a matrix. Here's a method for removal of those types of chemicals. And at the top, here's your general standard operating procedure of how you should use chemicals around glass, which we all know. Don't let it dry, rinse it off, right? Don't let the sun bake it on. But it happens every day. Yeah. And then, so as a power washing owner, company owner, or just a technician, say, oh, wow, I left some chemical on the glass. I need to get that off before my boss sees it. They can go to this cheat sheet and say, okay, I have this type of pad, or I have this type of product. I can go ahead and get it off. Or maybe it's a callback, or whatever it is. Maybe it's a window cleaner going into a pressure washing job that the chemical was left on the glass, and now they have to remove it. It'll show you, it'll create that matrix, like what was used. Okay, this is my approach, my standard operating procedure for cleaning that glass. There's an example of something we're doing. A lot of what we're really focused on right now are creating what we're calling SOPs, standard operating procedures for a window cleaner to approach glass. So you get on the glass. Okay, this is what I see. Boom. This is what I need to do. And there's always going to be different tricks. Everybody's got different tricks. But in theory, this type of applicator you want to use, this type of product you want to use, do you want to use a solvent? Do you want to use an acid, a compound, whatever? Do you want to use a mechanical, polishing system? So there's all different ways that you can approach those types of things. But that is ultimately what we're doing. And I mean, ideally, we want to put these into videos. There's the whole foundations learning course on the IWCA website, which is, did I say that right? I'm sorry, Gabe. It's our, it's our foundations learning course, but when you're a member of the IWCA, when you log in, you can go straight to, I always call it the wrong thing. Mad.
They're
So now I'm
they're gonna figure it.
yeah. So, but there's basically all these learning modules. And so we want to load things on there. We want to teach these things at convention, but we want to, my whole thing, back to what I was saying earlier about being on the glass education committee and all the science and bringing it to the layman terms of the window cleaner, is I want to put this stuff in usable, again, laminated something that we can get to window cleaners, get to pressure wash techs, and get it into training and get it into their companies so that people are knowing what to do.
Nice. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, at least for someone like myself, is knowing that if you go to these classes at the convention or you download information from the website, I mean, it's obviously not going to be anything a non-window cleaner is going to be interested in, but a lay person will be able to benefit from this information. You don't have to be a scientist to be able to understand the information that's going to be, whether at the convention class or on the website or in the book that the pamphlet that you guys have made, the document.
Yep.
If you're a window cleaner, you're going to benefit from this information. And that's the biggest message, is you don't have to be intimidated by any of this. It's going to help your business if you take the time to learn and to educate yourself on what you're working on so that you can be a more professional and safer window cleaner.
Yeah, that's the biggest mission of our glass education committee, is to bring the information that they learn in the lab and bring it to how do we apply this as technicians in the field, you know. Beautiful. And really a lot of it's basic stuff. You just got to you got to know about the glass a little bit, but you really just need to know what are the proper and acceptable tools and when you should use them in different products. And it's not that hard. It's really not. Yeah. So anyway, we look forward to teaching more about it.
Absolutely. And you know, I think also too that you benefit from is to get us out of the mindset of there's one way to do it. You know, there's one way to clean windows. And some people who, you know, I mean, I'm an old school guy. If you're old school, you get into a certain routine and you kind of don't like to do things that are out of that routine because it's uncomfortable, or maybe it's a little more time consuming because you actually have to think about it instead of just doing it, you know, without any thought.
Yeah.
But that's going to protect you, you know, that's good. And you make such a good point. Window technology changes all the time. Yeah. And when we're looking at that brand new build and we show up and we're using the same, you know, protocol and same materials and same equipment that we've always used, man, we can get ourselves in big trouble. So we got to stay up to date. But
Tom Trinan's out of Chicago. He does a lot of restoration work, a lot of high-rise work. He's amazing figure on my glass education committee. I could not do what I do without him, but he's really big on these standard operating procedures. And the more that we talk it through, I realize in my own company, you know, because it's not me doing the work anymore. I've got crews out there working. So to create a process that you can follow, that it's like, okay, builder, this is how we're going to clean your glass today. But if we see this is how we need to clean your glass today. And also, if we see that, now we have to incorporate that. You're really just creating a procedure for what you do when you see these different things on the glass. And that is the biggest thing that we're working on right now. And talk about being useful. I mean, I'm already in my brain, I'm gearing like how I'm going to implement that in my company. Yes. And I can put it right in my software. I can create forms. I can do, you know, you can just inject it right in if you just have the information. And so that's what we're working on.
Good. Awesome. Yeah. Well, Sheila, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and to fill us in. And if you're an IWCA member, please go to the website and download the Architectural Glass Guide. You just learn how much work went into that. Download it and keep checking, because like she said, there's always updates to it. But you're not only going to educate yourself, but you're going to educate your techs, your crews, so that they understand what they're working with. And again, that's going to just be a way to protect your company. But Absolutely. Same thing, I look forward to the upcoming classes, especially that solar panel discussion. I am really interested in that. So
I can't wait to see you there, Gabe.
Anything else exciting or coming up from the Glass Education Committee that we need to know?
No, I think I talked about most of it. Of course, getting through the publishing of this glass guide was a big deal for us.
Yeah.
So now we are, if anybody has any ideas of what they think we should work on, I'm all ears. You can actually go to IWCA website and go to my profile and email me from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're trying to bring information to the people in the field.
And one other thing I did want to ask is, so if someone is interested on joining the Glass Education Committee, what would they need to do?
Yeah, they can go to the IWCA's website and go to the directory and search me, or they can go to the board of directors and they'll find my profile there and just email me and I'll be right in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so
you do
much.
not remember when I joined the Glass Education Committee, I knew nothing. I didn't even know how to clean windows. Okay. So you do not need to be a brain or super experienced to be on our committee. You just need to be passionate about, you really need to be passionate about glass. I mean, ultimately that's what we're doing is we are, as window cleaners, we're protecting the integrity of the surface we work on by maintaining it. I mean, that's what we're doing. Now, if there's a lack in the quality of that surface, that's not our deal. We still have to protect it. Like whatever it is, we have to not alter that surface, right? So if you're passionate about that, then yes, you should be on our committee.
Awesome. Thank you, Sheila, so much.
You're welcome.
You are.
I love doing this, Gabe. It's so fun.
Well, we're going to definitely have you back again. Thank you
Well,
for all the hard work that you put forth on that. And we just really appreciate it. So
sure thing.
Thank you all for listening. We hope you learned something. Please go to the website and download that architectural glass guide. You're not going to regret it. Thank you for listening. You guys have a great week. We'll talk to you later. Take care.
Bye.